It's Friday, September the 15th, and that means that Triple G versus Canelo Alvarez is tomorrow, and I'm going to give you my fight prediction. Welcome to the DO Boxing Show. I'm your host, Dameon Okposio, and today we're going to talk about the upcoming fight between Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin that's going to be taking place tomorrow on September the 16th. It's going to be one of the major events for boxing in the 2017 calendar year, and there's been a lot of great events in 2017. I'm just going to go to a little bit of the background before I give my actual fight prediction. So, not to get too detailed into their past, but just to give a brief overview. We'll start with Gennady Golovkin, who had an extensive background in the amateurs, had a couple hundred fights. He turned pro at 24 years old. He's now 35 years old, and he had two notable fights. And when I say notable fights, I mean fights where the person had to battle back from a little bit of adversity. So the two notable fights I would give Gennady Golovkin would be his fight with Daniel Jacobs and his fight with Kell Brook. In his fight with Kell Brook in 2016, he got rocked twice. Once by a right hand, and then another time by a massive uppercut. He recovered extremely well because Gennady Golovkin is always in phenomenal shape. He's also got a great chin. And he was victorious, of course, in all of those fights. He's always been an incredibly strong fighter. For this upcoming fight, though, he weighed in a lot heavier than he normally does going into the fight. He still made all of the weight requirements for all of his titles, but he waited a lot longer before he leaned out, and I think he was trying to take a page out of Daniel Jacobs' book when Daniel Jacobs fought him and came in a little bit heavier on the night of the fight, he went without weighing in, and which disqualified him from one of the titles. I'm talking about Daniel Jacobs, so that he can come in a little bit heavier and possibly absorb the punches of Gennady Golovkin a lot better. With Canelo Alvarez turned pro at 15 years old. So he was essentially a young kid fighting men, and he fought a lot of guys with winning records even early in his career, which is not common because a lot of boxers usually fight a lot of guys that they want to build their records up on. But when you look at Canelo Alvarez's early fights, he was fighting a lot of guys with great records, and he was essentially a kid fighting men. Canelo Alvarez now is 27 years old, 49, 1-1. His only loss to Floyd Mayweather, and with 34 knockouts. And I would say his most notable fights were with Erislandy Lara, Floyd Mayweather, Austin Trout. And the reason why I think those fights are significant is because those are the fights that have given him the most trouble, is against boxers, guys that can move. And he lost to Floyd Mayweather, never got really hurt in that fight. He was more frustrated than anything. But in fighting Austin Trout, he showed that he could deal with good boxing skills. He fought Mayweather, I think, after that, but the Erislandy Lara fight was after Mayweather, and he showed that he had learned from the Mayweather loss and learned how to actually make adjustments within his fight game. Canelo Alvarez has also been rocked in fights, though, and even in his loss, even though in his loss he wasn't hurt, he was hurt in his fight in 2013 against Jose Cotto, which is Miguel Cotto's brother, and he got rocked in the first round. About a minute and a half into the round, he got rocked with a left hook by Jose Cotto, and he was in a lot of trouble. But one of the things he was able to show is that he was able to survive that round and win the rest of the fight. So it's going to be a good fight. Both of these guys have dealt with a lot of adversity. I think that the loss for Canelo Alvarez really helped him, and it really made him a better fighter. The intangibles, you know, while Gennady Golovkin has an extensive amount of amateur experience, I think that pro experience is important in the pro game. And, you know, even though you have a lot of amateur fights, it doesn't always translate to pro experience. And the example I'm going to bring to the table is Vasily Lomachenko, phenomenal amateur, again, with hundreds of amateur fights. But a guy like Orlando Solito was able to use a couple pro tricks, come in a little bit heavy, fight a little bit dirty, and that pro experience was able to help him get a victory over a great fighter like Lomachenko. So with Canelo Alvarez, I give him the slight edge because he's been pro a little bit longer. He's had a few more fights in the pro ranks than Gennady Golovkin has. And even though he wasn't amateur for that long, didn't have as many amateur fights as Golovkin, I think that his pro experience is significant. I also think both of these guys have great chins. I think Gennady Golovkin's probably got a better chin than Canelo Alvarez, maybe slightly better. But I think that the defensive movements of Canelo Alvarez are a lot better than Gennady Golovkin. Gennady Golovkin can box. You know, you don't become a successful amateur without the ability to box. But I think that Canelo Alvarez's defensive abilities are a little bit better. He can move better. I don't know how he's going to handle Gennady Golovkin's power, but I think Canelo Alvarez also has a good chin. I just think that he's probably going to get hit a lot less than Gennady Golovkin will. And what I see is a distance fight, and I think that Canelo Alvarez is actually going to win this fight by decision. And I think he's going to try and mix it up with boxing and fighting, and he's going to go en route to winning a decision against Gennady Golovkin. It's going to be Gennady Golovkin's first loss. That's my prediction. Canelo Alvarez by 12-round decision. Remember, if you have any questions related to boxing, send us a message through Twitter at DOKPOSIO or email okposio@hotmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe to get every episode of the DO Boxing Show. Thanks for tuning into this episode. Let me know your predictions. Keep it clean and classy. Thanks for tuning into this episode, and I'll catch you on the next one.